Hey, this is Dan here from Rune Silk, and I'm joined by one other, and that's none other than Damo for show. And this is the BeardMail podcast. So sit back, listen, and enjoy.
D&D in the house. It's BeardMail podcast, and we're talking about being well, well-being, and tips. We're going to give people some tips, aren't we, Dan?
Yeah, tips, but not the kind of tips that you probably think.
I know what
sorry, no, that was last week's podcast, wasn't it? When we were talking about vices and snakes and playing with them and that.
I think as good balance, actually. It would be good to entertain our audience with learnings and fun and interesting knowledge. But I think well-being is a massive thing. And look, we have a lot of talk in the community about mental health, and we have a lot of talk about well-being and stuff. So, we are pinnacles of health. We're not really, but you could learn from our mistakes. So do you think we've got it in us, Dan, to give some tips and help people on the nature of well-being?
I think so. I think, yeah, definitely you more than me on this one.
Yeah, you might have some stories, or even you might tell me how not to do it. That might be, a good thing. I know, obviously, we've spoken in the past of quitting fags, and you had a little stab this year of doing a bit of running in that for charity, mate.
Yeah, 26.7 miles. Sorry, just to butt in there, but that's quite big for me. 26.7 miles.
I have fits and you love your numbers, didn't you? Not long ago, you were talking about your 1.7 Nigerian thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
26.
That's good. That's good for your health.
That's good for the wife's well-being.
Right, back in the room. It's not even 6 o'clock. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. It's not watershed, but we can. Yeah.
Well, actually, Dan, you post this up at 7:30 on a Wednesday morning, so nothing's going to be watershed viable. Dan, just give me I'm going to say 3, but even one would do. What is the biggest tip you could give somebody? Just pack it in. We've got a show to do here.
Sorry.
What's the most poignant tip you could give somebody that might help them in their plight to be better and to be well?
Taking time out from digital disturbance is probably one of the biggest things that you can do. Just literally put the phone down, go outside, do something, pick up a book. So many people now so used to being digital, they're like, oh yeah, I can read a book on my phone. I'm like, it's still so nice to actually just pick up a book and read it, just to feel the paper, smell the pages, and just read. Sometimes it's nice to switch off from screen time.
I absolutely concur. I actually did a little bit of a health challenge a little while ago, and one of the tasks was a thing called green exercise. And part of that was to just go outside and be in nature without your phone, because we do in this modern world spend too much time glued to a screen. That's not to say that if you're watching YouTube right now, watch to the end, and then turn off the screens. But if you're listening right now, well done for not looking at your screen. But yeah, I think it is a thing. I have actually found myself getting more migraines of late, but I spend a lot of time in front of the computer most days. So yeah, if that's your biggest tip to knock on the head the devices, bloody good shout. And did you just have a little giggity to yourself because I said the word head
and knock?
Yeah, you did a little bit. I knew it. My biggest tip.
We're going to lose it today.
My biggest tip would be, and this is me telling myself, I'm going to listen to this back. I always listen to the podcast back anyway. But my biggest tip would be drink more water.
Strong
water is just miracle juice, Dan. It has so many benefits. It helps flush your system. It helps fill you up. It just hydrates you. You're made of water. You need water. Water is the main thing. I love survival programs. I watch no end of them. When someone's had a plane crash or something and they're going to die in the desert, it's always water. It's always water that finishes people off because they can't get no water. So if you have access to lovely fresh water out of the tap, you should be banging on it every single day. So that's me telling me there's a red hot tip that you absolutely should take immediately. Have more water.
Yeah, and And I go through phases where sometimes I drink, I'm really good with my water, and sometimes I go through phases where I'm actually like, oh shit, I haven't actually had a glass of water today or yesterday. I had loads of coffee, but don't think I drank any water. But I've got a smartwatch, like, so I can start tapping in like when I have glasses of water, and I can look back on the week at how bad and good I was, and it's something that does prompt me to try and drink more water. And it does make a massive difference, and it's good for weight loss as well, because you can help you break down those glycogens which are just holding on to that fat store. So it's
Sounds like market science.
more like science is
So what we all
bad.
need to do then is we need to get a smartphone so we can look at our watch for more screen time, and that'll help us
Smart
remember
watch.
to
No,
drink
because I
water.
look smart watch because I look at my screen less now, because if I get a notification, I just kind of go, okay, cool, Mrs. wants to know where I'm at, or it's just an email. So actually I look at my phone less now. I've got a
Yeah.
watch, and I look at the watch for less time, because obviously I can't scroll Instagrams and the faces and books and all that.
I'm with you. So the two least most important things you could think of as an explanation for your watch looking then was the wife contacting you or an email. Oh, it's just the wife. Oh, it's just an email. Nothing I have to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. I'm out on a walk, but I can also track my steps as well. So I've been conscious to make sure I do at least 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
And if I haven't, then my wife hates it, because I'll pace up and down from the kitchen to the bathroom while I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, just got 362 steps to go. You can brushing my teeth, and I'm just, yeah, absolutely. Because I think, and it's just setting goals, isn't it? Set those targets, and you feel bad when you miss them. Sometimes I can't. You know what? I've got 3,500 steps. So it's 11:45. I'm never going to make that unless I go for a run, which I'm not going to do at midnight. But then exercise leads into exercise.
Well, yeah, I mean, they say 10,000 steps a day is great. If you drank more water, if you did 10,000 steps a day, if you cut out a little bit of the shit food or had a little bit less of the shit food, and if you didn't smoke and if you didn't drink and if you didn't look at your phone, you would absolutely be in a much better place mentally and physically to enjoy life. However, we all sort of know that, but we don't necessarily do it. I have one question, Dan, and I know we're supposed to be talking about well-being, but I want to talk about nudging 40, because I'm nudging 41 soon, and I think I'm probably in the worst health that I've ever been in. Can I blame it on being 40, or do I need to just change my game a little bit?
I would say you can't blame it on being 40, because
Can I blame it on lockdown?
You can blame it on lockdown. Yeah, you can blame everything on lockdown. It's everyone. You watch lockdown and COVID will be the biggest scapegoat for the next 10 years. Only because I'm 39, so I've just turned 39. So I've got.
Oh, so you don't know what the hell you're talking about then? You wait until you're after 40. Yeah.
Well, no, because I say that now, but I'm 39 and I feel like I'm actually in the best shape I've been since I can remember.
That's because you ran 26 miles in January.
Exactly. But I've still been kind of doing some exercising, and I've still been trying to eat a bit more healthy. I've been a bit bad the last few weeks. Days. I meant days, right?
He'll catch up on you.
And that's exactly it. And it does catch up on you. So if you are younger listening to this podcast, and when someone says to you, mate, you can't eat the sausage and bacon and egg sizzler every day, which is what someone said to me once, and I went, shut up, mate, it's not going to do anything to me. When they say you can't eat the sausage, bacon and egg sizzler every day,
listen to them.
Listen to them, because it will, when you're visiting the doctors and they say, well, I've seen worse and I've seen better, when they're referring to your liver and the fatty deposits in it. It's like, and that's the thing, isn't it? Once you get to that stage, because I think I told you before, I think I had quite a scare. I was really tired. This is before I started doing the running. I was lethargic. I was knackered, and I went and had some blood tests, and they said you got high liver function. I started googling it. Don't Google stuff, because oh god,
yeah, don't Google stuff. That's tip number 4. Don't Google stuff.
Don't Google stuff. Started like signing up to newsletters for how it works and all these support groups for fatty liver disease, and I started panicking. Like, shit, am I going to die of like liver failure? Then I had the ultrasound. They were like, "Well, it's not great, but it's not that bad. You're at a stage where you could probably reverse quite a lot of this if you drank a few less IPAs of a week." And yeah, so just don't. It's very easy in this fast-paced lifestyle to just kind of go, I haven't got time to make something half decent, so I'm just going to shove in some biscuits in my mouth, or I'm just going to go and get a sausage roll from Greg's. Other sausage roll vendors are available, of course. And it's just very easy when we're fast paced to chuck in a microwave meal, to eat crap food that's full of salt, full of sugar, sometimes it's actually quite nice to go to. We have a market in town, and sometimes I make the effort to go into town, go to the market, get some fresh, really tasty vegetables. You pay a bit more for it than you would in the shops, but sometimes it just makes a difference, and if you feel like you're kind of doing better things for you as well. And I think sometimes a lot of it's mindset. So mindset does a lot.
Plus, you get your steps in if you go down to the marketplace.
No, yeah, exactly. At least 3.5 steps from my car to the market.
Oh, so when you said go down to the market, it sounded like you were taking a nice stroll with like a hamper and maybe a small sheep on a lead or something. I don't know. We
Skipping down to the market. Yeah. No, that's about half an hour walk. Like, and then a half an hour walk back. Like, I don't mind the half an hour walk as long as it's a 15-minute walk there and a 15-minute walk back. But if it's like a half an hour, I can't. An hour, nah, man. That's what cars are for.
I remember when I was in my younger days, when I was 39 and that, probably a bit younger than that. Like if you had overdone it for a week or two and you had the sizzling sausage, bacon, whatever you called it, if you'd had that every day for a couple of weeks, you could literally just be good for a week and then you'd be fine again. Just hit the gym 3 or 4 times, just drink a bit more water and you'd be fine in a week or two. And I've found now, being over 40, that I'm like, this is taking more than a week or two, and it all of a sudden becomes hard to be good for. If you've only ever been good for a week or two, it becomes hard to be good for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Like be good for 3 months. Like what? It just seems like a long, hard old slog. So, but I'm on the cusp now where I did say I was going to be a lot better from being 40. And then obviously when I turned 40, COVID and all that happened. So there was a bit of an excuse to not be. And I'm like, right, I'm about to be 41. Now's the time. Do or die, Damo, do or die. So I'm going to make some changes and I'm going to heed some of my own advice. But the thing for me is I've got to do it for longer than 5 days. I've got to do it for 8 weeks. And then hopefully by the time 8 weeks comes around, I'm ready to do a new plan that can go for 12 weeks and then a new plan that can go for 20 weeks because it has to be a lifestyle change ultimately. And it's just, the thing is, I think when you get a bit older, you know what's good, you know what's bad. And it's just, it's hard. It's hard work. It's harder as you get older. But then I also think, look, by the time I get to 50, I want to be good. I want to be great. I know people that are 60 years old and are fit as a fiddle. I want to be one of them 60-year-old people. I don't want to be, my old boy. He's he's 74 now, but I mean, he's always had a belly on him because in that era, from when he was 50 onwards, 60 onwards, it's all bought and paid for in it, son. And I don't want to be like that in this modern day and age now. There's nothing cool or clever about having a big fat beer belly anymore. There's too many people, and also I've lost too many mates. I've lost mates that are 47, 58, 62, and they've passed away, cancer and that, but because they've been drinking and smoking all their lives, and it's like it catches up on you. So now's the time for me to do something about it. So drinking water, staying off my phone, getting some green exercise, going outdoors, getting 10,000 steps in. But I think these things, they need to be achievable. You need to be able to do them every day or most days for a long period of time. Any other super top tips, Dan?
I would say, like you say, that just keeping the movement thing. I mean, I've just started reading a book called Atomic Habits.
James Clear.
I don't know the name of the author. Is it James? Is it
James Clear or something like that? I've read it. It's very good. It was a lot of similar stuff to what I was doing when I was doing Candid Yes, which was my habit changing tool.
So essentially, it's trying to make the small changes. So if you can change 1% every day or every month or whatever, it's all about the.
That was the British cycling team. You're only in chapter 1, aren't you?
It is a British cycling team, exactly. No, I've just gone past the British cycling team. I've only just started reading. Yeah, James Clear. So you are correct. It's a really good book, but it's just making those changes that are easy to do. Like I, for one, never make a New Year's resolution because I'm one of these people that go, no one sticks to New Year's resolution, so just stop making them. Like, look, New Year, new me, bollocks. Like. It's just, you don't just make a change, a slight change, make small changes that are realistic and not impossible. And people go, I'm going to stop smoking on New Year's Day. We all go out steaming on the 31st. We wake up bollocks. We kind of go, where's my cigarettes? you're not going to wake up on the first and kind of go, ta-da,
I actually have a routine for New Year, and I always make sure that I don't do anything on New Year's Eve because I want to be fresh for New Year's Day.
Yeah.
And they usually have a park run, and you can sometimes do 2 park runs on a New Year's Day morning. And I love being at park run and being fresh when a lot of other people are hanging a little bit, or people have been overdoing it. And I think New Year's Day for me is a great time to start because I'm quite motivated that time of year. But it's about turning it from a month fad into 2 or 3 months. And this year I did it. I said, right, I'm not going to drink for January. And I did it, and I was fresh, and I said I was going to do park run every week, and I did it for all of January. But then February came, and I was like, well, I've done January now. And then I just went back to, I had a wet February, and I didn't do any park runs because I'd done so well in January. I tell you what I got from Atomic Habits, actually, which was a really great tip, was that he talks about adding a habit onto another habit. So
habit stacking,
yeah. So, for example, there's something that you do every day religiously already that is already ingrained as a habit. So, going for a wee, first thing in the morning, if you tot on something to that. So, I go for a wee and I do 10 press ups, for example, if that's what you want to do. It easily becomes a habit because you're stacking that habit. I have a cup of coffee and I read a chapter of my book, or I always have a cup of coffee and I'm going to make sure I have it outside and get some fresh air. Like whatever it is, just that habit stacking. I took that from the book. I thought it was very good.
So I did that when I was in Thailand. When I was traveling, I used to, every time I went to the toilet, I'd do 10 or 20 press ups off the back of the toilet. So I'd have a wee and then do some press ups, and I was ripped as well. I think I did exactly the same thing as you this year though. January, smashed the dry January, did the run in. February came, and I was like, well, I've raised the money for charity now. I'm just gonna I can't. I need a rest. And now it's like the end of March, and I'm like, shit, I was going to pick that back up in March. And I didn't. So I think it's it's really important to. Sorry, I've got people leaving the office now. It's just that time of the.
Couldn't even hear them. I tell you what, I've shut out this year. I used to set myself a big target and a big goal, and that would be enough to get me motivated. But I've found recently that even things that are a big target or a big goal, I've still managed to just fudge through them all right without having to be at my physical best. So, for example, I've signed up for the Rat Race, which is a 20-mile obstacle race this year. And it's in May. And in my mind, I was thinking, right, I'm going to need 6 months, 5 months to train from January to get really fit to do it. And now it's like it's 4 or 5 weeks around the corner, and I feel in the worst shape of my life. But my mind is like, yeah, I'll just grind it out. I'll still be all right. I just, I won't do it quick, but I'll still do it because I know I've got that mental aptitude to do it. But I also know it's going to be so hard because I wanted to be a stone lighter, and I wanted to have been doing runs, 10-mile runs, and I haven't. I can't. I've had a bit of a chest infection, and I've been back on my inhaler this week. I'm in the shittest shape ever, and I've literally got 4 weeks, I think now. Before I have to go and do this race. So it might just kill me off, and that might be it. But I tell you what, I've shut out. It's a massive festival. I didn't realise we're going on the Friday night, and they've got Chris Moyles DJing, they've got AC/DC bands and all this sort of stuff, and you stay in your tent. But then we're running on the Saturday. So I'm like, well, that's me knackered. I'm going to get absolutely hammered on the Friday night. I'll be up till 4 o'clock in the morning partying, and then I'm going to wake up at 11
Try and run
a 20-mile run.
Every mile.
And then at the end of it, there's another party and band, and I think it's who is it that's doing who's the band that did I Believe in a Thing Called Love?
Oh, Darkness.
I think it's Darkness. I think they're like the band for the Saturday night. So in my mind, what was like, oh, this is great motivation. I'm going to be super fit all of the start of 2021 in preparation for this festival. It's now just turned into I'll just grind it out and I'll probably do it with a hangover. But after that, I'm definitely going to be drinking
teetotal for a few months. I think going back to what you said about not drinking on the New Year's Eve. Do you know? I think for the last few years, I actually haven't been drunk on Christmas on New Year's Eve because I think for me, I like to think start the year as you mean to go on. And if you so what you're saying, if you wake up feeling amazing on the 1st of January, then it's a great way to start. And I think for me, my advice for most people, like on the 31st, usually in the few days run up to the end of the year, I try and avoid Facebook because everyone reflects on all the shit.
Yeah.
I can't wait for 2022 to come because this year was shit and people died but no one. So what I tend to try and do is every year I put a post out that says all the things that were wicked, and I always start by saying I hope next year was just as good as this year because
you've done that.
Because well, I just think I find it really interesting how so many people always reflect on how all the bad stuff, but they didn't. But they're so deep in the negative that they never think of the positive stuff. Like, are you telling me that 300, unless you had cancer and you were suffering for 365 days a year, then obviously you've got something to moan about. Like, you had a shit year. Like, fair play, But how many of you genuinely had 365 days of shit? Like, yes, a few people kind of go, well, I genuinely had a shit year. Sorry to hear that. But most of Facebook probably had something to kind of be grateful for, or something that was wicked, whether it was a £10 win on the lottery, whether it was a price, a salary increase, a promotion, or just whether it was the fact that you got out after lockdown and you saw people you hadn't even seen for years, because you were like, do you know what, I'm going to see more people after this because I haven't seen anyone. I'm going to make an effort to go and see people. Most people focus on the negative. So I always try and say, try and pick 5 things that will absolutely bang in. I got a grant for X business, or do you know what, actually I had a really good month with Room Silk in January or June or August, and just all the kind of the positive things, and just put it in a post and literally manifest it and say, I hope next year's as good as this, or better. And it is mindset, because mindset is powerful. If you start thinking negatively, you're gonna trip over. If you keep worrying about tripping up the curb, you're gonna trip up the curb, right? It's just one of those things that just happens because you focus on it too much. The mind is very powerful, and I think in terms of well-being, I read a really good book that I recommend anyone to read. Whether you believe it is a bit weird when you start reading it. It's a book called Magic by Rhonda Byrne, and it's all about gratitude. You spend a month. There is a weird bit where she's like, you need to pretend to sprinkle gratitude on your food. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to sit. She was like, yeah, I go to a restaurant and I order food and I sit there and I'm sprinkling gratitude. People are like, what are you doing? I'm sprinkling some gratitude on my food. Like, yeah, a little salt bay, a little bit of gratitude. So I'm not doing that. But what it does do is that there are exercises in there. It's like, every day you've got to find 3 things or 3 people that you're grateful for, and you've got to say thank you. Thank you for being X, Y, and Z, or being in my life, or I'm grateful that, I can walk today. I'm grateful that I can actually walk to a shop and go and get my bacon sandwich, so after a bang in the head.
You'd had a big session in the party ring, hadn't you, the night before?
Exactly that. But it's a really good book, and it's and whenever I always find, I actually even gave it to my daughter to read, because a few years ago, she's a typical teenager, but I was like, read this book. I said, it will open your eyes just to kind of just being grateful, and gratitude is really, really powerful. I think, it actually opens up. It's taken from a line from the Bible, and I won't paraphrase it or quote because I can't remember the exact words, but it goes along the lines of, he who has will have more, he who doesn't will lose everything. And they say what the word was missing here is gratitude. So it's like, he who has gratitude will have more. He who does not have gratitude will lose everything. And it's so true. Like, if you are grateful for stuff, and the other thing as well is it's looking at that future manifestation. So it's learning to be grateful for the shit you haven't got yet, because the universe will say, well, if you're grateful for having it, then the reaction to that is giving it to you, right? And quite a lot of it, it's crazy. The more you start thinking about it, the more you start actually moving towards it. So although it's not really the universe giving it to you, it's yourself. You're thinking about it, so you put actions into place to go and achieve what it is that you want a bit more. So anyone who kind of wants a better job, anyone who wants to start a business, anyone who wants to get fitter, start being grateful for being fit, and start being grateful for being, start recognizing that actually you are healthy. And there's a section where you've got to breathe, and you kind of got to go, thank you for the air in my lungs that gives me life. It's bloody fantastic. And it's a good book. If you've not read it or heard of it, get it, just because I want everyone to read it.
Sequel to The Secret.
Yes, correct. It is indeed. Yes.
Yeah, well, I already got all my dreams from reading The Secret. I don't need to buy another book from the same author saying the same shit in a different fashion. You are absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff out there, and to be fair, I dip in and out of this world a lot, but everybody always says the same thing: do your gratitude every day, do your positive affirmations every day, be thankful, for everything every day, do your meditation every day, drink plenty of water, and a lot of it is like, it's a bit woo woo for me, because I like to take action. But that said, I've not really got anywhere like physically, you know, with my health and well-being over the last 10 years. And I remember like I got forced into doing yoga once. I was running a gym, and we started a yoga class at a studio, and I had to go and open it up. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm here, I might as well do the sessions. And I did it for about 6 weeks, once or twice a week. And it was really good for me, but it was a battle in my brain because it was boring and slow. And in my mind, I want to be punching a punch bag or competing against somebody or doing something a bit, you know, more manly. But it was really hard because it made me realize how unflexible I am, how unfit I am. But I couldn't believe how good it was for my brain. And like sometimes after a session, it felt really emotional. I'm like, what is going on? I've just done some bloody yoga. All I've done is just lean forward and bend over and stretch myself a little bit for an hour. But like sometimes I find it really quite emotional. So I know there's loads of good stuff out there. And actually, maybe it is time now. Maybe this is a sign from the universe, from my mate Dan and his wellbeing tips, to actually take on board and do it. You know, to actually, you know, write down gratitude, what you're grateful for, actually do those affirmations. Because I mean, I say to my dad, you know, when he talks about, you know, he can't do anything now, and I'm like, yeah, but in 10 years time you'll be 84 and you'll be saying, God, I wish I was how I was when I was 74, when I could get about. And it's like thinking about what you can do now. Like whilst I am now 41, I should be happy. You know, my nan, she's 93, 94 now. She can't do nothing, can't get out of a chair. So, you know, whilst I'm here now at 41, where I can, I might have a bit of beer belly on me now. I might be a bit overweight. But whilst I can still walk, you know, I played football the other weekend and I was knackered after 5 minutes. But whilst I can still do that, it's time to really invest my time in doing that. I think I know we did vices the other week, didn't we? But I think one of my vices would probably be getting lazy. Just there's too much good stuff on the telly to sit down in front of Netflix and waste your hours away, when actually I probably should be writing something down in a book, some affirmations and some gratitude.
So yeah, idleness and laziness it's too easy. And I think this is a thing, you know, it's not our fault. It's the brain's fault. The brain will always go for the easiest way out.
Yeah.
Which and I won't touch on where I started learning quite a lot of that, because could be a completely different conversation. As well as in my mental health first aid training, and the brain will always pick the easy way out. And it's like, well, you could go and exercise, but like, do you know what? It's going to take you fucking ages to get a 6-pack, bro. Just go and sit down, have a 6-pack of beer from the fridge. So much easier. You're going to get immediate endorphins from this shit. Like, it's going to be so good. Just have a beer. Just sit down in that couch, binge. But you know, just press A. You don't even have to watch the credits anymore. Just press A, watch the next one, sit down, get lazy, have another beer, want some biscuits. And I think that,
I actually want to get biscuits on that now. What have you done to me? What is that? What, you need to change that up. Can you say something nice and make me go to the gym?
Get off, you lazy bastard, and start exercising, you fat wee bastard, you. But I think, you know, but you look at I revert back to the Atomic Habits, and I think what you got to look at there is don't try what a lot of people do, and it's what I did when I started doing the run. It was like, do you know what? I'm going to smash this piece of piss. I'm going to run, I'm going to smash it, hurt myself, fuck it. My mind goes, give up. It's too hard. It hurts. You're in pain. Sit down. Why are you doing this to yourself? But do you know what? At the end of that month, I was so proud of myself. Nailed it. Smashed it. Raised 400 quid. Bang. Look at that. How wicked was I? Well, what were you doing? I was just running, mate. Just running. Just running. So easy. Running. But it takes time. Like, you know, I mean, and I stopped. Well, I stopped because it was easier to stop. It was so easy that I kind of just went, I stopped. And then I carried on stopping, and I didn't start. Best thing to do is just get up and just go. Even if for me, like, I think I'm going to take some advice myself. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up. I'm just going to run around the block. Just get up and go, because you have to associate the positive neural network to. You just got to remember that feeling of, do you know what? I actually felt amazing when I just went and run a mile. I come back and I'm like, whoa, fuck yeah, let's go, you know. And you actually feel good. Like, don't get me wrong. I come in the afternoon, I'm a little bit like, okay, I'm a bit physically tired now, but I got so much more done in the day because my mind was pumped. I had lungs full of fresh air. I'd set the blood around my body, and And I think that it's taking those little steps, but not that's unachievable. Don't go and cry, oh, do you know what, I'm going to do a park run. Well, have you run before? No, don't do a park run then, because you're going to hate it. You're never going to do it again. Go for a short runs and use the park run as your target. At the end of this month, I want to do a park run. Or at the end of March, I want to do a park run. I'm going to start running, do the couch to 5K, make those small changes, do your 2,000 steps, drink more water. I used to love yoga, and I don't know why I stopped, because it was really good. I think my back probably just tweaked it somewhere. I was like, oh, I'm in bed and I can't move, and I should probably never do yoga again, because it's easier for me to just not do it. But I do my sun salutation, get a glass of water. I put the glass of water in my hand, almost like in prayer. I drink the water, like, that water is so fucking amazing. Thank you for gracing my body and rehydrating me. Felt a bit of a knob, but do you know what?
Did you sprinkle some of that in the water?
But the thing is, this is the thing though, isn't it? And I think that we associate the negativity. Yeah, what are they doing that stupid Nazi stuff for? Oh, what are you doing the yoga for? Well, girls do yoga. Well, you might think you're all wicked going down the pub drinking 12 pints a night, but actually, I got up, sprang out of bed, didn't feel a thing in my back. You probably got out of bed and went, oh, and who's laughing now? So I think I need to take more of my own advice, and I'm going to go exercise. So later, fuck you not.
Big time. Do it. I actually, one of my strap lines is in one of my other groups is harder option, greater reward.
Yes.
Because and this has come from my time doing drugs and alcohol counselling. It's that it's easy to be lazy. It's easy to have a habit. It's easy to have a beer. It's easy to eat a pizza and do all the bad things. It's hard to make changes, and it's hard to cut things out, and it's hard to make new habits, and it's hard to do gratitude every day, and it's hard to sprinkle gratitude on your food, and all those things are hard. But if you do those harder options, you absolutely get a much better reward. And it is exactly as you mentioned or alluded to earlier, it's about that long-term reward rather than that short-term fix. You sit there and watch you have a chocolate bar now, and it's like, great, you get your little buzz off it and you've had a chocolate bar, but the longer term consequences of doing that every night is you get fat and overweight and miserable. It's hard to say no thanks, no chocolate for me tonight, or no beers for me tonight, but the longer term consequences of that are all your insides are better, healthier, you're slimmer, you're fitter, you're better, you're more motivated, you sleep better. There's like millions of long-term benefits to not drinking and to not having sugary candy snacks. But that's the battle in the brain, isn't it? But actually, this was supposed to help our listeners get some well-being tips. But I think, if anything, it's helped you and I.
Yeah, we've helped. Thanks, listeners.
I feel like we're like this is like our New Year's resolutions happening right now.
Yeah, I've had an epiphany. I'm like that. Right, no more Greg's till tomorrow or something.
Give me that magic book and let me sprinkle some gratitude on my healthy hummus.
But I think also being held accountable, I think, is also quite important.
Like, 1,000,000%. I'm going to be messaging you at 6:30 tomorrow morning and saying, Dan, how's the run going?
Yeah, and I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've got up at 7:30. but it's the same. Like, I can again with the watch, which is good about the watch is I can if I'm doing rowing, I can trigger rowing, I can trigger running, and it will give me a whereabouts of sign of what calories that I've burnt. And I'll blast a treadmill for like or whatever, or the row machine, and I'm like 77 calories, and I pick up a Mars bar and I'm like 240 calories. I'm like, that wasn't worth the row. Put it away. It was not worth rowing to eat that just to justify that Mars bar. And you start actually finding you start more and more kind of going, you do some press ups.
Yeah, big time. You carry on.
Yeah. And, you put the Mars bar down and you start to make those conscious habit. And I think that's the conscious changes that you've got to make, is that you've got to kind of start associating the negative things and actually almost saying to yourself, no, it is bad. Don't do it. Do the good thing. Like, pal, like, and I tell you what, like, we used to do this in the office, like in the back end of last year. If we were feeling sluggish, I would literally go like, right, come on, let's do some press ups. If everyone got to the afternoon, everyone was just like, oh, do you know what? It's the afternoon. Can't bother to really do anything. It's Friday. There's only an hour and a half left. I might as well not start anything because it's Friday. And then so it's like, no, let's go. Drop and do me 20 press ups. And all of a sudden, everyone's just like, oh, sweet. Should we crack on with that work now? It does.
I'm pumped. Let's pull a 24-hour podcast marathon. Let's go.
You say that is hard. Like a friend of mine does every year. He does a 24-hour live podcast stream for.
You were on it last time, weren't you?
Yeah, I usually feature on it because so he interviews people for 25 minutes, and over. Did you see that? Just trying. That was like.
Remember, there's people listening on Spotify. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So for those that are listening, I sort of stepped on the microphone wire, and it sort of erected my Yeti into a sort of stand-up position, ready for action. Yeah,
for those of you that also didn't get to see, then I also just did a load of press-ups and a load of sit-ups and smashed it, and now I'm knackered.
Yeah, Damo's now going to go down the pub for a pint in celebration.
I might have a beer now, actually. Carry on with your well-being bollocks. Come on.
Well, to be honest, I think that's a good ending point. You crack the beer open at the end of the well-being. We can wrap the podcast up right there. That's a nice 35-minute. Thank you very much for listening, guys.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz.
Do some press-ups. Make sure you do 20 press-ups. Like, subscribe, share, then do 20 sit-ups, and then come put in the comments, "Oi, guys, you're a wanker. Stop making me exercise." I'm getting all active and that. So, but no, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. It was an interesting journey. Thank you very much, Damo. I enjoyed it.
Be well, and we'll see you again for another podcast soon. Boom.
Yeah, take care. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.
See you in a bit. Bye for now.